Welcome to Gameweek 22 Deadline Stream brought to you by the Gameweek Navigators. My name is Leong, FPL Run Farm, and joining me today is Sankalp as usual. So it'll be two of us with you today, and we are about 2.5 hours, less than that, away from the deadline. So plenty of time for us to discuss and maybe make our decisions that we haven't made for those who haven't made your transfers. And yeah, so some cup we have a very long break with lots of international games, lots of cup games before finally we have our game week 22. So how do you deal with this long wait, and what do you look forward into the second half of the season?
I think the break was good. Good, especially at the start of the year. Good time to catch up with your friends, family, pick up new habits, healthier habits. Right, try to read a bit more, work out more. So I enjoyed it. Absolutely enjoyed it. But at the same time, I think the second half of the season always gives us more opportunities. We have two new games, two new mega players who are there on the banner itself. Right. Jota and Kevin De Bruyne. So this means basically you have more options, you have more opportunities as an engaged FPL manager to differentiate with the people who are. I think half the teams by now generally don't play the game anymore, right? So you know for sure all those teams have Haaland as captain, and if Haaland just comes off the bench and you have Kevin De Bruyne giving you a lot of points, so maybe you will enjoy it. So it's a good time to start making up ranks, especially if you've fallen behind. You have more opportunities to do so, and it's also a time to have a bit more fun. I feel if you have given up on your season, rather than not playing it, I would say just play it, go on for all those fun picks, and see how things turn out for you.
Yeah, I think it's a good advice because you see a lot of players actually give up because their rank is not that good. But yeah, as you say just now, there are plenty of opportunities for them to catch up, especially with the double game weeks announcements. And I think I saw a lot of people started to discuss on when they want to use their chips, triple captain chips, when they want to wild card, and which are the double game weeks that they target. So do you have those in your mind right now, or you'll leave the planning for maybe later on?
I am leaving the planning a bit for later, but I know a lot of guys are heavily into it, expecting the double game weeks, expecting the blind game weeks. We are still 4 or 5 weeks away, but I think it's a good time to start planning a bit. You know, keeping those things in mind, saying, "Hey, if a team is going to blank, should I get a player from them? Maybe not. Maybe wait another week." And if you know that a team is probably going to double, and it's a good team, so why not go there now, right? So these are good things. Even if you are not taking a call, I think these are good issues to keep in your mind before you take your FPL decisions.
Mhm. Yep. So we'll just go to our talking points for today. Okay, so these are the talking points, and as usual, we will start with the transfer trends, then the fixtures, and some dilemmas as we go through the fixtures, and then I think the most important part of this game week, more important than all the game weeks, because we have an opened lots of choices for captaincy, and finally our bus teams. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go on discussing. So give us some time. So if we see your questions, and maybe we'll slid in and answer your questions. So maybe I'll just bring the first question on the stream since it's addressed to Sankalp. So from Devang Safla, I think you know him as well, Sankalp.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. It's a good
so
friend of mine.
yeah, he
Uh,
mentioned that Salah has Burnley and better double, but KDB is KDB. So what do you think?
I think, I mean, it obviously depends on where you are in the game. KDB is the rank chaser for you, right? He'll help you gain a lot of ranks. Uh, and the couple of things in my mind. One is we know that Salah is injured currently, right? So if you have the money, I would rather just go for KDB. Uh, I just saw Klopp confirm that Liverpool will be without Salah both for Chelsea as well as the Arsenal match. Right, so that is for sure. He is not available for the moment. It could have been much worse, he said, which means there is some positivity, but at the same time, we don't know how he returns, right? On the other hand, we have Pep, who generally is doesn't give much away, but he went on the record and said, Kevin De Bruyne is fit, he's ready to go, and we'll be playing him. So this just means that today, if I have to take a call, I can take a call for the next three matches. And I think three matches of Kevin De Bruyne, say he's fit and starting, is huge, right? So today, if I have to take a call, I'll just go with Kevin De Bruyne. And these are players I don't mind bringing in on hits, right? So if tomorrow I have to get Salah in on hit, I would do that. I won't worry myself how much, right? My -4 is nothing, especially if you are looking at a double.
Yeah, because when Salah is out, actually, the Egypt Football Federation, they are quite confident that he will be back in case they make it to the semi-final. But of course, we know they are out right now.
Yeah.
So that is around game week 24. But Liverpool side actually mentioned that they are more, he's more likely to be back around game week 25. So, but also I read some reports that it is not something that is certain because with hamstring issues, we never know. So if Salah, let's say his Salah miss game week 25, the first game, so it might make him a lot less valuable, I think, and people might be put off in getting him in because he blanked in game week 26 as well. So we cannot predict the future, of course. So we can only probably predict when he's back. So I see a lot of players actually buy in KDB because he's quite similar price, even though Salah is quite slightly more expensive. But as a placeholder, and just put some cash in the bank in case Salah come back, then he can just swap KDB out for Salah if they want to. So I
Yeah,
think
if you
it's yeah.
can with a direct move, I think it's great. Even if you
Mhm,
can't, I'm pretty okay doing a KDB to Salah at some point of time on a hit.
mhm.
-4 is nothing. Right? If you feel confident about that move, I've always said it. Hits for premium players is not something you should bother about because these are the players you are bringing in to captain, perhaps. Right? Hits for not so premium players is where you should be a bit more, skeptical.
Yep, especially if Salah is not back, then we still have KDB for the double game week. So I don't think you'll lose a lot as well in that case. So
Yeah,
we go to our
definitely.
next question from Aditya. Yeah, so I'll just show it. When to get in Haaland? Oh, I meant to do this as a surprise, but I just want to say it now that I bought him. So yeah,
Okay.
that's all I can say. So
People are
Sanka,
bringing differential KDB and you brought in a differential Haaland, right?
yeah. So Sankap, do you think next game week, this game week, or later on?
See, these are players you don't really get worried even if they play 45 minutes, right? Even when we had some opportunity of, Kevin De Bruyne coming off the bench against in the Newcastle match, there are people who got him in, right? Because they knew he will get some minutes, even if it's less. And they got a very solid return, right? I've seen people captain him even despite knowing he'll be coming off the bench, right? So if you're getting in Haaland knowing that he's going to get minutes, I think it's okay, right? Reasonably, I would rather get him the week after, but I understand the attraction, right? Even if it's 45 minutes, it's 45 minutes against Burnley. At the same time, this guy is a machine, right? Let's be honest. I think this is his first major injury. Last year, he missed out a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, right? Due to injury, but this is his first major injury where he has missed out some. But he's a very well-oiled machine, right? So I think there's a good probability he starts even. If you're taking that risk, it's a good risk to take because it's Haaland, right? So my theory around this game always has been take your risks around the top premium players. I'm okay if you're getting. I think it can be a game changer even, right? Getting him in, even if he comes off the bench. But logically, I would be more comfortable doing it the week after, seeing some of it, right? A bit more cautious. That's all.
Yeah, you mentioned that he's out for long, but actually, if based on his records, this is actually the longest he has been out for his entire career. So
Yeah.
previously, the longest he has been out is four weeks or 4 games maybe. So this is by far his longest. So we have to see how he bounced back from that injury. So no one knows because we don't have past record on that. So we move on to the next question. Of course, again on Haaland. So this is from my friend Tai Chi Ping. So the captain Haaland or Foden? Of course, you have to own both first in order to captain them. So in case you own both, so Haaland or Foden, for me, again, uh, it's meant to be a surprise, but I'm captaining Haaland, despite his uncertainty in minutes. So I just want to go for it, just based on gut feeling. It's not like I'm confident on him starting or whatever, but just wanting to gamble on it for once. But I think Foden has been in good form without Haaland, especially, and has been combining well with Alvarez during that Haaland and KDB absence. So he's a good captaincy shout as well. Before I sold Alvarez for Haaland, actually, I have the captaincy for a while on Foden before I changed it to Alvarez. So, yeah, it's between these three Man City players that people have a hard time deciding on. So,
Yeah, I think Foden is a popular differential captain this week. And if you ask me, I would rather go Foden, just knowing that there's a security of minutes with the captaincy chip. Right? I know if you're going Haaland, even if comes in, takes in 30 minutes, you will be happy. Those opportunities will come for him, and you hope that he converts at least one. Right. But even then, I think for captaincy, I generally like players uh, a bit more confident about the minutes, a bit more confident about the start. So, and like you said, Foden is in good form. I also feel the way Burnley play, right? The height that they go for, the defensive line that they pick, right? There's a lot of opportunities for the runners to run in and create something. Right? So, I think both Alvarez and Foden are great options for this week. And even if we take out the Haaland factor, I think Foden is a good move in itself, right? So, especially if you are someone who's chasing a bit in ranks, all those dead teams have Haaland captain, right? So,
mm,
if you want to gain ranks a bit, I think it's the best to go for a non-Haaland captain. If you're doing well like Leong, I think go Haaland.
oh yeah, no, not really doing well, but I just feel like taking a gamble. So speaking about Foden, maybe we can just jump right into the transfer trends because there are some surprises here. So as you can see, Foden is actually the third most transferred out players, and another surprise would be Bowen being the fourth most transferred out players. Of course, you see Salah and Son, we understand that, but why Foden? Why sell Foden and Bowen? Of course, we can see that the most bought in players is De Bruyne, so probably they want to sell Foden and Bowen to fund that transfer, maybe.
I'm assuming it's Foden to Bowen or Foden to Jota. So if you look at the number of transfers, it's fairly similar. Because Jota gave a solid return. I'm
Mhm.
sure all eyes are on him. And to add to it, the Salah injury ensures that the next couple of games, more or less, Jota starts. Right. So I think this is where people are going. It's not bad. Uh, it's risky for sure. Right. Do you know that Foden is playing against Burnley? Ideally, I would not make that move. It's a home game. You know, if you are not someone who's hold Foden for a long time, ideally, I think over the last 5 6 weeks, if you bought Foden, you would have earmarked this fixture and said, this is where he will give me points. And suddenly you saw Jota or Kevin De Bruyne and he jumped off. And so it's a huge risk in itself, and that's where I'll be a bit more worried. But other than that, the other two players. For example, if there's any player in the midfield that I'm happy to sell today, right? I can sell any midfielder today in the game to get in Kevin De Bruyne, right? Because he's that kind of asset. But Jota is not there for me. I know he explodes, he gives you points. I've written a lot of articles on Jota. I remember the last couple of seasons, but at the same time, he's no Kevin De Bruyne, right? So that's the only place where I am comfortable selling a Foden.
Yeah, so if you look at the amount of managers that bring in KDB is around 1.2 million, which is a really shocking number, given that we are actually having a long break. So maybe some managers got bored during the break. I'm not sure, but maybe his cameo, one goal, one assist, actually convinced them to bring him in. Yeah, I think he came back really strong, but then is it enough? Just a small sample size to convince you that she's actually the one that you have to have going moving forward.
I'm not convinced. Again, if you're someone who's chasing the game, good upside move. But if you're someone who's sold Foden and got in Jota, I feel like it's a huge risk, especially this week.
Yeah, and also I realized that the fifth most sold player is Trent. So we know that he's back and he played minutes in the FA Cup. So probably people sell him before his return. I'm not sure about that. So or maybe people need funds to buy
Yeah,
KDB.
I think it's more of a combination. Right? If
Mhm.
you want to upgrade a Foden or a Bowen to a KDB, then you need that money out of some other place, and Trent just feels a comfortable choice.
Yeah, and also maybe it coincide with the return in form and the return of Estepinian as well.
Of
And
course.
Brighton started to keep some clean sheets. So it really surprised me
Right.
because they managed to get two nil draws that after so many games without clean sheets. So they start playing a bit more defensively, maybe.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I think we'll move on to the next one, which is Gameweek 22 fixtures.
Yeah.
So we'll be a bit different today. So we'll go based on which game come first, and we'll talk one by one. Then after we talk about each game, we'll move directly into the dilemmas for the game. So if you have any questions regarding the game we are talking about, then straight away just blast the question in the chat, then we can maybe talk about it right away. So the first game that we are going to talk about is going to happen later. Um, Forest against Arsenal. So I think we'll go directly to you. But before that, just look at some team news. For Forest, Ilanga, he has returned to training. Gibbs White as well. He's on the bench in the FA Cup game. So both very important players coming back for Forest. However, they still have six players out in FCON, even though Koyate and Yakate they are meant to return after Senegal been knocked out, but they're still missing a lot of players. And for Arsenal, especially, a lot of people will be interested to know about two key players, Gabriel and Rice, especially Gabriel. So Arteta mentioned that they might be a touch and go decision, right? But you think they'll be back, Sankhap?
I think so. I think so because we have had some break since the last few days, and neither of the injuries seemed serious. Nor none of the team sources have, some of the reliable journalists. None of them have leaked any of the news saying, "Hey, this guy seems to be seriously out of the game." So generally, Arteta does not like to open up a lot of cards. It's something that I've seen, and I'm assuming it's on the similar line. And I hope that Rice and Gabriel both start.
And also we have some images, blurry images that Gabriel apparently he's in training, so we are not sure whether it's really him or not.
Yeah,
And yeah,
we always have detectives nowadays
mhm.
in FPL accounts looking out for such leaks. I feel it's Gabriel as well. I don't remember anyone else with that kind of hairstyle. Maybe I am, you know. So I feel it's Gabriel as well. But you don't know what kind of training he was in. Even if he was there, it doesn't mean he starts, right? Maybe
Yeah,
he's just back.
mhm.
So
Yeah, and some interesting stats. Arsenal actually lost their past three away visits to Forest, and also Forest at home actually has the the fifth best defensive stats. So it won't be an easy game for Arsenal. Do you think they'll win big
Generally,
in this game?
yeah, generally they sit deep a lot. I remember last season they frustrated us a lot. It was the second last game of the season, if I remember well, and they really frustrated us for that 1-0 win. Right, but at the same time, I think with a new manager, with a new coach, Nuno is a bit more aggressive than the earlier one, right? Than Steve Cooper. So even if they are supposed to sit tight, I think they will give us more opportunities. They will look for more and more transitions than they do, and that means the game should be slightly more open, right? So I do expect a similar philosophy. They'll sit deep, they'll try and hit us on counters and transitions, and that's the reason I do expect Gabriel and Rice to play, because those two players are so important for us to control those transitions. And I think if they are close to fit, they will start. At the same time, it's something and there's something in my mind which says it'll be a bit more open, and I think there'll be goals in the game compared to earlier matches, earlier seasons where we used to just see a goal or two. Right?
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, if once Nuno has taken over, they actually managed to score in I think almost every game that they have played compared to the time they struggled under Cooper to score goals. So it's a change in playing style as well. They seems to be more exciting to watch. And yeah, so we look into our first dilemma of the day on this game, which is it time to question the faith in Saka and invest the 9.1 million elsewhere, or should we hold on to a potential turnaround? So bear in mind that Saka is still the highest owned player in the game with 60 almost 62%. So should we keep Saka in your opinion, Sankalp?
I'm not a huge fan of ownership, especially the higher a player is in ownership. I feel that there are more and more opportunities for you to, go against the run and pick up some points. And with Saka, it's definitely been there, because while he's got his chances, I think, especially over the last 4 or 5 matches, I think there have been a lot of opportunities for him to pick up points. He definitely should have got an assist. It was such a stupid decision to take that assist away and then give it back later, which FPL wise we won't get, right? So uh, I don't think it's a bad decision to sell Saka, but there are only few players in the game I would do that for. For example, I was more than happy to do it for KDB this week. I was looking to do it for KDB this week, and maybe Saka to Jota is a good move, decent move. The only reason I will not do it is I may not do Saka to Jota is perhaps the mid to long term, right? The next two matches, short term, it's two tough matches for Jota. Chelsea at home. It's at home, but it's not an easy match for us, say. And then Arsenal away. Jota does have a good track record against us. At the same time, it's an away match, so uh, not exactly convincing me to go there, right? But with KDB, it's a easy move. If you're doing it,
Mhm.
I would be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, and if you know, I think a lot of managers, if you know that Arsenal is going to win 5-0 against Palace the previous game, they would captain Saka without hesitation. But are you surprised how uh, little Saka actually get involved in an attacking move the previous game? Is he heavily guarded, or do they plan to change it in strategy wise, or is this just a one-off thing that happened the
I,
last game?
I think there's a lot of individual dynamics at play, right? If you look at the last goal that Martinelli scored, he could have very well put Saka through. He just did not, because he is in a phase where he has to prove himself, right? So I think a lot of such cases are there, at least with our players, where we have Odegaard, we have Martinelli, we have Jesus, all of them struggling a bit for form and looking to create opportunities for themselves, right? But Saka is still the player that I think gets a lot of good opportunities across all matches, and that's the reason I'm not much worried. Yeah, definitely he should have had more points. I don't think he's more guarded over the last few weeks. It's been consistent, right from the start of the season. Obviously, you come in as a talisman of a player of a team which is looking to challenge for the title. You're going to be guarded, and he's more or less accepted it as a part and parcel. And despite the fact that he's guarded, he's got really, really good opportunities. I think he's missed like three big chances. He's hit the post a couple of times over the last few weeks. So I think the chances are there. He just needs to find his timing and take it. Um, but at the same time, a bit pessimistically, I'm also thinking that he's not exactly an explosive asset. He's a guy who has across the season, even when he was giving us points, he was taking across, right? Every match he was giving us an assist, a goal, assist, and a goal, and he was just continuing, right? So at some point of time, you have to ask yourself, is the ROI there, right? And I think we have reached that ceiling now of price. When you're 9 million plus in your price, you just have to be explosive, right? You cannot be just a consistent 5 pointer, 6 pointer guy. And that's my only issue with Saka today.
Yeah, just to add on to your point, actually, he did have a lot of chances. His XGI in those games that he blanked is actually still the highest in his team. So probably he just need to finish the chances better. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, um, I'm holding on to Saka. I'm not selling for this game week because I think he has a lot chance to have attacking returns against Forest. So maybe I'll think about it next game week, but definitely keeping him this game week and
And
just wait.
it's something odd because last first 4 or 5 game weeks we had a lot of pens, and Saka was distributing penalties. Say, you take it, you take it. At some point of time, we also gave Havas a penalty. But after that, I think game week 5 onwards or 6 onwards, we have
Yeah.
just not had any penalties for almost 15 game weeks now. So you know that ideally it's around the corner, and you would love to see Saka take it as well,
Yeah. Unless he still give it away, then you'll break a lot of hearts. The
right?
next one. Okay, so we'll move on to the next game. So before that, just want to highlight the comment from Milo Tough. So good afternoon and another great live stream. So thank you
Thank
and
you, thank you,
thanks for
guys.
joining us. So if you have any questions, just type it in. So we have the next one, Fulham against Everton. So some team news. Harry Wilson is out for 2 to 3 weeks, so it's a big blow for Fulham, especially with Iwobi still at AFCON. So attacking wise, they'll be definitely be affected. And for Everton, not much news. Coleman probably close to return, and also Ducouré is still out due to hamstring injury, and also another big key player for them still out. So I think FPL wise, not many people own the players from these two teams, and we just look at some stats. Maybe Fulham, their form, they have 4 games overall without a win, and also Everton, 4 games in the Premier League without a win, and they're just sitting just 1 point above relegation zone due to the point docking, and possibly they'll get even more points docked if the charge come through. So those are two teams that are not in great form. But at home wise, Fulham have won 4 out of their 5 home games, so they're still a strong bet at home. So looking at that, I would maybe predict a narrow win for Fulham in this one. What do you think, Sankap?
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I have Leno on bench now, and
Mhm,
I'm still wondering, should I play him, should I not? But I
mhm,
do think Everton are a good team, right? Over the last few weeks, they have dwindled a bit, but they're still a good team. They look strongly to attack. Uh, Take out Harry Wilson. Pereira is not in form. Iwobi not playing. It might go Everton's way, but either way, I look at it as a very close game, right?
mhm,
Uh, Fulham do like to keep the ball. Over the last 10 weeks, we have seen them play a bit more different, keep the ball more, have a strong position, and try to attack. And I've seen generally Everton thrive against such opposition, right? It's they don't want to have a ball, but they want to create opportunities, right? So I feel it will be a tricky match for Fulham, and overall, it should be a close one. I do favor Everton a bit for the match, in fact.
mhm. But who is your other keeper to compete with Lando for that starting spot?
It's Ariola.
Yeah, same for me as well. So I actually changed it back and forth between those two of them, but I finally decided to go with Lano. Due to their better home defensive record, probably because West Ham is just not doing defensively well home and away. So you can't expect Areola to be a Superman and save them, like make 6 or 7 save every game, unless they do it again. Yeah,
I
but
think one other way of looking at it is a bit of risk mitigation. If you have someone like Solanke, you play both Solanke and Ariola, and you hope that someone gives you points.
yeah. So not much to talk about this game. So we move on to the next one. Luton at home against Brighton. So team news for Luton, Cabral is still at AFCON and they have Jordan Clark suspended. For Brighton, Fatih is still not ready and Mitoma and Adigra are still away at Asia Cup and AFCON. But stats wise, Brighton is now 6 games unbeaten in all competitions. So they have managed to regain their form. And Luton as well. Luton 4 games unbeaten in all competitions, and they did really well in advancing in the FA Cup to the next round. Um, so Luton at home, of course, we know they can surprise teams. And do you expect Brighton to continue their streak of keeping clean sheets in this one? Because they obviously tightened up defensively in the past 2 games in the league.
I'm not as confident because I feel it's similar to Luton against us or Luton against Chelsea. Some of the other teams that they've faced at home. They will be really strong in set pieces, attack you with bodies in the box. It's not easy to deal with, and we have seen it traditionally that also being Brighton's weakness. Right, so I feel like it's a good match. It's a goal scoring match, and both the teams will play to their strengths, and both the teams will score goals of their strength. So I see goals in the game. So while I do expect maybe Brighton to come out stronger, I think both of them will concede goals.
Yeah, especially with Luton liking to pump balls after balls inside the penalty box to the two tall strikers. So
Yes.
actually, Doughty actually emerged as one of the great choices with his crosses in and his set pieces as well. You have seen him gaining many points and also his ownership increase as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he managed to continue his form. So a few talking points from this game. So the first one is about Joao Pedro. So since Mitoma and Adigra left, his form has actually picked up. He has 7 goals in the last 5 games, and if you take away the 2-0 draw in the Premier League, he actually has 7 goals in just 3 games. Even though 4 of them actually came from penalties. So his penalty taking is really good, and Brighton is really good at getting penalties as well so far. So and he's still only 5.5 million, and before this, this is actually sort of a rotation risk player. But since those 2 players have left, he actually started 4 consecutive 90 minutes games in the Premier League, and also De Zerbi actually singled out him for praise as well, especially in his mental side of the game in the
He's
interview.
playing really well.
Yeah.
I think without doubt he's playing extremely strongly, and
Mhm.
he does deserve a lot of starts. Oh, having seen him over the last few 4 5 games, I think his performances are really good, and
Yeah.
he's becoming a bit of a differential option to Solanke even. And so, uh, I if you are someone who's looking to go there, or if you are someone who went there, I think it's a good option to have, especially like we spoke about. Second half of the season is all about picking up good punts. Brighton are looking good, and he's a good punt.
Yep, and also they have good fixtures as well. So if you look at their fixtures for um Brighton, okay, they have
West Ham
Luton. After Luton, they have Crystal Palace, Spurs,
home.
Sheffield United,
Spurs.
and Everton, Fulham, Forest. So it's a great run of fixtures that
Yeah, it is
I think Pedro can capitalize on.
definitely. I
Mhm,
think this is a good run of fixture.
mhm. So, and the second talking point, of course, we see a lot of managers bring him. Estupiñán. As we can see just now, the transfer trends is actually the fourth most bought players. And after his injury, I think he looked quite healthy. His minutes have been picking up as well, and Brighton start keeping clean sheets. And he has been playing in various positions. I think left wing back and also left back, and also even in the game he played him at left centre back. So so far he has been good. A small sample size, but Brighton has tightened up at the back, so there are lots more clean sheet potential as well as attacking potential. So, are you looking forward to bring him in upcoming weeks, as opinion?
Yes, definitely. I loved Estupiñán at the start of the season, even when Brighton were not giving, clean sheets. I think they were on a solid run of no clean sheets back then. But I could see Estupiñán combining so well with Mitoma, especially. Right. In
Mhm,
fact, there were times where I used to think if there was another winger, apart from Mitoma, Estupinian would have got even more chances because Mitoma, being Mitoma, he likes to take those opportunities. But
mhm,
Estupinian was almost always available on the overlap or the underlap in and around the box, inside the box, right? So he had a lot of touches in the box, which I love. From a FPL defender, as an asset. So I definitely am looking at him as an option. It's just you have to figure out a way to bring him in, and especially I think if Trent say takes a bit more time or something happens, maybe Liverpool loses a bit of defensive form. I think he's a strong mid-price alternative because it also gives you the option to upgrade your midfield and forward, which we all are looking to do now.
Yep, I think so as well. I'm planning to bring him in, but then just waiting for the right time. So I
Yeah.
think most likely I have to sell Poro at some point before his blank in Gameweek on 26. So that might be a chance to switch to S opinion. So we'll see by then. Yeah. So next we look at the next game, which is Crystal Palace at home against Sheffield United. So team news, Olise is back. I think he's back earlier than expected, so it's a big boost for Palace attack. And also IU is back from AFCON as well, so they have their trident in attack. IU, Olise, and Eze back, so I think it's a big boost for them, especially when they look really toothless against Arsenal in the previous game. And for Sheffield United as well, they have a new goalkeeper, Ivo Gerbic, who actually played for Atletico Madrid and Lille. And Wilder actually mentioned that he's now their first choice goalkeeper, and he only costs 4.5 million. So he also willing to loan out for the Ringham. Um, so I don't really know about this player, but then to buy a Sheffield United goalkeeper is really not a choice right now. And also for other owners, maybe Baldock is still out and Rooster is suspended for his red card in last game. And just some stats, I think both are really struggling teams. Palace have won one in the last 10 games, and Sheffield United, their away form is the worst in the league. They have only managed 2 points so far away from home. So again, both teams will need points, and there are even rumors saying that they want to replace Roy Hodgson with someone. I think they desperately need a win, both sides. But I can see Palace actually bounce back and get a win in this one. Can you?
Yeah, and there's also some news about Olise, coming into the match. We don't know whether he starts, whether he's
Mhm,
off the
yep.
bench. I expect off the bench because he's had a bit of a break, but at the same time, I think they are so heavily dependent on a combination of Eze and Olise, to create those attacking opportunities since Zaha's departure. So I think there'll be a bit more of fire in them, especially after the Arsenal match. They'll want to come back a bit more strong. So I see goals for them, and it may not be easy because Sheffield do fight a lot, but there's a good probability that they pick up performance wise. Because if they don't, there's a lot more pressure on Hodgson, and they'll want him to move
Mhm.
out, right? So
Yeah, definitely because you look at the last game against Arsenal towards the end of the game. I think we saw fans actually turning on the owners, more towards the owners
Yes.
than Roy, and
Yeah.
Eze actually looked visibly frustrated because he tried to do something, but the teammates just doesn't support him that well. Yeah, so Arsenal actually had it quite easy in that game, and Palace played quite poorly. So they really had to bounce back. If not, they're in deep trouble. Mm. Yeah. So the next one, yeah, it's a big one. Villa against Newcastle. So we go to the team news first. Paul Torres and Dina is still out for Villa. Ramsey is back to training and close to return, but their news that Newcastle is actually putting on a bid for to buy Ramsey. I really like him as a player, so if we sign him, I think it's a good signing, but we have to see. And you have John Duran out as well for Villa, so which means that we might expect even more minutes for Watkins, even towards end game because they don't have another striker to sub in for Watkins. And for Newcastle, of course, the good news for Trippier owner because he's ready to start this one. And Almiron was ill the last game, but we were not really sure whether he's ill or he's on the way out of the club. But then um, I think the clarification said he'll stay, so he should be able to start this one. Bad news is Jolinton is out until May, so a big loss for us. And then Murphy is back. He played in the FA Cup. So he's fine. And Wilson and Barnes, they are close to be back, but still out. So still lots of injuries for Newcastle, especially in the midfield area. So we'll have to still start with Bruno, Longstaff, and Miley without any capable subs. So yeah, um, we beat Villa 5-1 in the first game. So they
Long,
want
long time
revenge.
ago.
Yeah, long time ago. So we have not won in our last 10 visits to Villa Park, back to way back, including defeats in the last four games. So it's not looking good for us, especially with the second worst away team in the entire league, just managing just 5 points. Just now I mentioned Sheffield United managed 2 points and we just have 5 points. So we did really poor away. So even as a Newcastle fan, I'm not really optimistic about this game. Um, we'll try to keep the score down, but I expect Villa to win this one, and they'll be really
You
motivated.
So a lot of people are discussing differential moves, right? And
Mhm.
there are people who are saying, "Hey, why don't you go Watkins?" Right? He's not on great form for sure, but at the same time, if we look at the reason, the motivation, right? I think Villa would be really, really strong, really high on the motivation, right? And they have looked incredible at home. So that's the reason a lot of people are saying, "Hey, why not go Watkins?" Do you feel it's a good move?
Yeah, we'll just go to our next dilemma, which is about Watkins. So, he just had one goal in the last 7 games, but he had a couple of assists, so I don't think he's that bad.
Hmm.
And I still have Watkins. I'm really tempted to sell Watkins for Haaland earlier, but I decided not to do so because I actually hold 1 million value on him because I bought him really early and his price rise by 1 million. So I think
Hmm.
that's one of the reason as well. And
Hmm.
he still
Hmm.
leads the team in terms of XGI, non-pen
Hmm.
XGI, and also shot attempts in even in the games that he blanks. So he's still the main target man. Of course, we know that Villa did really well at home, scoring a lot of goals in the early season, but then the goals have been drying up a little bit. They won by like 1-0, not more than that. So people are not really expecting Watkins to haul. But if you look at their fixtures wise, I think it's a good thing to hold Watkins for long term because if you look at fixtures wise, they have real good fixtures all the way. After Newcastle, Sheffield United at home against Manchester United, then they have Fulham, Forest, Luton, and Spurs, and even after that, I think all the way until game week 30, they have real good fixtures for Watkins to score in. So I still think he is a whole for now. Um, But unless there's someone like Tony who can tempt me to maybe sell for but right now I'm holding on to Watkins. Yeah. So the next one we'll talk about I think we'll talk about Trippier. So Newcastle have a change in fixtures as well, which is after the Villa game they actually have a good run of fixtures. Um, we almost sold Trippier because I think I don't know if what happened behind the scene, but we almost sold Trippier to Bayern, um, which is good for FPL because a lot of managers are actually targeting to bring in Livramento, but of course the move didn't happen. And should should the owners hold on to Trippier? I don't know. Because I don't know if we can manage to turn the form, especially our away form, which is quite bad right now. And yeah, for 7 blanks in a row for a defender who costs 6.7 million, do you keep persevere with that and be patient with it?
Yeah, I think I have been sitting with him for such a long time now,
Mhm,
and I feel like I've overdone it. I should move out, and I'm just looking for an opportunity to move out. Somehow, Newcastle have had good games where they have conceded, and Newcastle have had a lot of bad games where they
mhm,
have generally conceded. And like you said, the bench options are so limited, right? The team, for most part of December at least, looked like overrun, right? They're pretty tired. They're playing every 2 3 days. Now the good thing is some of it is changing, right? The gap between the matches increased. Now they're completely well rested. Champions League is out of mind, so their sole focus in Premier League, and I think those are the good things, right? And you always know that Howe has a good core of the team. Most of the defensive core is still available. Is the same core, so their first principle can go back, and just defend deep, defend solid, and see what we can do from counters. So I'm hoping that that's what happens with Trippier. But like we all said, we will need money to upgrade our midfield and forward with a lot of these options coming back. And Trippier just feels like a easy option to sacrifice. That's the way I'm thinking today, but I'm not sold him. I'm hoping that maybe Villa is the miracle match. I still remember, I think a free kick where he hit the post against United. I was so pissed. I'm
mhm.
hoping that some of these moments keep coming back, and then that might change things a bit.
Yep. I'm hoping for that as well, but I'm not really optimistic. But we have Portman coming back, and so far he has been improving our defense a bit, especially slowly back to his partnership with Shah again. I think is really solid. Now we're slowly getting there. Probably we can expect some clean sheets moving forward for Trippier, hopefully. And another one is I saw someone captaining Isaac, and I asked why do you captain Isaac against Villa away? And of course Isaac is in great form and he has scored in 4 straight games I think before the last one. So I think we lost. Sankalp, are you there? So I think while waiting for him to come back, we just talk a bit about Isaac. So of course I mentioned earlier, Isaac is in great form, and yeah, so we have to. Okay, Sankap says that he'll be back in a minute, maybe due to some issues at home. So I just talk about Isaac a bit. He has the penalties, and Wilson is not back yet, so he's the only striker that we have right now. So I think he's a good punt. Just the only problem is there are so many good strikers around right now. So who are you actually selling for Isaac? So of course not this game week. Maybe in the next game week he might be an option.
Uh, you can always build narratives, right? Villa will
Mhm,
again play that high line, and maybe it will work in Isaac's favor, right? So
mhm,
there are good narratives around it, but at the same time, we have not seen anything over the last few weeks to substantiate. Obviously, he had a terrific match against Manchester City, I felt.
Mhm.
So maybe that match is the turning point for a player like Isaac, right? So I understand when someone goes there because this is perhaps the only week, left where you can really, really go for a differential captain. And if you are someone who's gone for Isaac, all the best. When most of the people will be going on a City player, right? You never know, something can turn your way, but we have seen so little so far. I don't know whether Emery will still go for such a high line and whether they'll still keep on losing position, right? They were a pretty raw game week one. I feel like they've come a long way, and ideally I would not like to bet on that.
Because I'm sure you heard rumors that we almost sold Wilson to some of the clubs. And
Yes.
I'm surprised because we don't have enough cover for Isaac already right now, and we're still considering to sell our only backup to Isaac. Of course, officially Isaac is our number one striker now, even if Wilson is fit. Um, I think Newcastle sort of try to sell players in order to buy younger players. For example, the higher wages players like Trippier and Wilson, and then they sort of really half given up on this season, just trying to get a good position in the league and also try to push for the cup. But basically, we have not much to play for this season, so they are trying to maybe focusing on developing the younger players and just get some money transfer funds while we can for our higher wages players while we can. But unfortunately, it's not working, and Wilson is still here. Yeah, so we have to see because I think Isaac is a really good buy starting next game week. So the only problem, as I mentioned, is just now is who are you going to sell if you want to bring him in? Yeah. So moving on to the next game, we have next game we have of course the biggest one and the biggest talking point we discussed some earlier. Man City against Burnley. So team news wise, as we know, Man City have a full strength squad. The previous injuries like Haaland, Akanji, Stones have all been back and in training. And KDB and Doku was brought in 65th minutes in the cup game against Spurs while they are pushing for a goal. And then Pep mentioned that he's really optimistic and feeling really good because he have all the players back and they can now push for all the cups. And I think this is the time then when City usually puts on a run. So it's really hard to bet against them. Um, and for Burnley, Charlie Taylor, I think a lot of people still own him and he's still out. And then we have Bayer. Bayer and Charlie Taylor actually last minute decision. So we are not clear because company said that we'll see. So we have a new signing for Burnley, a loan signing, a striker from Chelsea, David Fofana. So he could feature in this one. Yeah, so we go directly into our talking points. So first one, when should we consider buying back Haaland, and if we don't, how long can we survive? So of course we discussed a lot earlier about Haaland, and I've taken the leap of faith in buying him. So a lot of managers chose to wait, I think, to see what happened in this game and choose to wait for the next game week. So do you think that that's the right way to play it?
Yeah, it's a risk, right? It's always a risk because even 30 minutes against Burnley for that kind of a player is going to be a difficult thing. And second point is, like I said, there are like 50% of your teams which are dead teams who are sitting on Haaland captaincy, looking to pray, looking to kill you if he scores even one goal, right? So that's what you're betting against, and that's something I would like to remind any of the people who are playing the game still new, right, in the first few years, right? You just think, hey, no one must be having Haaland. How will it hurt me? There are a lot of people who are not playing anymore, who have given up, but are sitting with a Haaland captaincy in the drafts, and they will be the ones killing you, right? So that's something that you need to always remember, right? So when you're betting against players, it's important that you understand who you are betting against, right? And these are some of the managers that you are betting against. Are you comfortable doing it? I am if you have a strong enough city core. Right? For example, only KDB might be still tricky if we don't know how many minutes he gets. Only Foden might be tricky, but if you have a Alva plus Foden, Alva plus KDB, Foden plus KDB, I would still go into this week feeling much better, a bit better at least, right? Knowing that I have two players who are generally involved in goals, and even if they don't score, they might be the one creating those assists for Haaland. That's
Yeah.
all.
But if you don't get Haaland this game week, so when is the latest game week that you feel you have to get him in before the damage is
I'll
done
get
to
him.
you?
I'll get him the next week
Yeah.
immediately.
So you will no longer wait, like for example, game week 24, 25.
No, no, definitely no.
E-
If I know that he's going to start, I'm going to get him in. That's all. Because
Even if he
you
plays
know
like
that
10
this like
minutes in this game.
so that's the thing, right? You have to see out how it goes. If you feel that next week he starts, there's a much stronger probability he starts.
Mhm.
Definitely, I'm going to get him in. If there's still a question mark, I'm willing to wait a bit more. Right. It depends on the kind of question mark there is, right? If there's a strong question mark, why not wait out another week? But if you feel it's a much more stronger probability he starts, you just go there. Stop taking that risk.
Hmm.
And
So
then there'll be a lot
yeah.
of managers where he scores one goal of 10 minutes, they'll definitely get him.
Yeah, I think so. Even if he does nothing, I think a lot of managers will buy him in anyways.
Yeah.
And we also discussed about KDB earlier. So we don't see a lot from him yet. So we can't really conclude whether he can sustain that form. But just a question for you. So moving on to a double game week for 25. Of course, I think most of us will want to have three Man City players in our team.
Yeah.
So who is your top three that you want ideally to move into that game week, regardless of position?
Yeah, it's tricky, but I think I'll. Ideally, you love to have three city attackers, right?
Mhm.
Why we fail to do so is the constant rotation, which Pep really strikes us with, and that's where I always get worried. But if we see Alvarez still remains core, the only issue today is what is the KDB Alvarez you know factor, right? Who's going to start? Are they going to take away each other's minutes? How is it going to happen, right? So if that's the thing, then you are much more solid knowing that you have a Haaland plus Foden combo, which is fairly similar to how we started the season with. And most of us had a Haaland plus Foden. And then the third one is where you punt, right? If KDB is a question mark with minutes and you have Salah and Son back, that's when it gets tricky. Today, I'm more than happy to take that punt. More than happy to go KDB plus Foden plus Haaland because I don't know. I don't think there's a Salah, there's a Son there to hurt me. So I'm more than happy to roll the dice there. But tomorrow, once those options are back, and someone like Salah has a double game week, and you are still not sure about KDB's minutes, that's when you have to start thinking a bit more, a bit harder.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me. So right, if you ask me right now, I want to go in there with Haaland, KDB, and Foden, of course. But if Salah is back, then probably I want Salah over KDB. So that leave a spot for City. So I would maybe want to cover it with Walker because he started all the games this season and he's probably the most nailed on City defender. So far, rather, but the only problem is I think he has some issues with his private life recently. So hopefully it won't affect his chance of starting or even keeping the captaincy for Man City. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Agreed.
So yeah, so we have to see. We will go to the next game. Um, Next game is Spurs against Brentford. Okay, so team news wise, of course, we know there are some players that still at the international cups. Son, Bissouma, and Sarr are still out. And then Madison, of course, good news for Spurs fans. Madison came on the 73rd minute in the FA Cup finally, and a lot of managers actually see him as an option while Son is still not returned. And for Brentford, you have three players in the AFCON still, and also Norgard is back, so it's a big news for them. And they have signed Regulon, but Regulon cannot face Spurs because this is his parent club. And Brentford have actually lost five consecutive away games in all competitions, so this will be a tough visit to Spurs, and Spurs will be heavy favorite to win and score goals in this one. But one notable stats I realized is Brentford's away defensive stats is actually ranked second in the league, just behind Arsenal. So I have no idea how they do so well defensively away, and whether they can manage to keep Spurs out in this one.
I have been sitting with the Pinnock as a move. I went there ahead of Milenko, perhaps one of the worst moves I have made over the last 10 weeks.
Mhm,
Right? They have just conceded goals, man. Even if they have looked, there are days they have looked decent defensively,
mhm,
but they have definitely conceded goals. So I think there are people who are sitting with a Richarlison. I wish them the best. I think there's strong probability. At the same time, you have to remember they just had a strong thrashing from Manchester City. So Ange would be really, really pissed. He would want his team to come back strong. Right? Even if it was not in Premier League, they had a really poor game. City controlled them right from start till bottom. So uh, I think it's a good time for you to have pick one Spurs differential, even if it's Richarlison great. Uh, I'm happy to go Madison as well because I think minutes are coming back. He looked such a great FPL option, right? So let's not forget that. I think both Richarlison and Madison are the dark horses for this game week. If you have one or if you're looking to get one, definitely go there.
Yeah, so which brings us to our first talking point. Of course, it's about Madison. So um, we are not even sure that Madison will start right away in this game, right? But will Madison's return actually, because we a lot of us actually have Poro, and Poro we know have taken a lot of set pieces, corners, free kicks when Madison is not around, and also Madison is supposed to take a penalty when he's around, but when he's not around, we expect Richarlison to maybe take one, but when he's back, of course, it also affect Richarlison's chance of taking a penalty as well. So his return actually changed a lot of dynamics in terms of Spurs attack. So do you think how does it affect the team? Do we get Madison back in, or do we wait for maybe his game week 26 blank to be over? Because we know now that Spurs definitely have a game in game week 29 because them and their opponent is out of FA Cup, so there's no worries that they'll miss two game weeks. So do we jump on Madison now, or do we wait and see?
Uh, I think it's okay to wait and see. So, for example, if you're getting Madison, where will you get that money from? Who are you going to sell? Ideally, it will be Saka, near about player who you will be selling, or you might have sold, or might be looking to sell Rashford given the recent fiasco, right? So, those are probably the two assets. So, and both of them have decent games this week. So, maybe this is your week you see it out. Right. It feels like a fun move to do. And I think he starts. I'm not sure. I'm just going by my gut. Considering the fact that Spurs will look to come back strong, I think Madison starts. And if I know Madison starts, I would do that move for sure.
Hmm. Interesting. But just now we mentioned about whether it affects Poro's attacking potential. So we look at game week 1 to 10 when Poro and Madison actually played together. So during that time, the corners taken by Madison is 41 and only 5 taken by Poro. But after Madison is out from game week 12 to 21, Poro has actually taken 56 corners, which actually
Has he
makes his
given
attacking
any
position
any
a lot.
points from those
Mhm.
corners?
Um, I'm not really sure, but
Yeah,
from those corners, 17 of them are actually successful corners, which means he actually
met
get
the
through to an
defender.
attacker. Yeah,
Somehow I don't remember him getting any points from
yeah,
the corners, right? So
hmm
the key to Poro has always been his positioning, right?
hmm
He seems to be getting into positions where he can score actually,
yeah,
right? He takes such a lot of good shots. In fact,
yeah,
yeah, I am surprised he has not scored more goals.
hmm
At the same time, he also creates a lot of good open play chances, right? So
yeah,
if you ask me today, that's where the question will be. One, you know for sure the kind of crosses that Poro is going to put in is going to reduce a bit because Madison will put in a few other, but also that also means that there's a bit of variability into Spurs chance creation because they were looking to create a lot from wide spaces. So now you have Poro taking the ball, defenders doubling up, and then creating that space for Madison. Right. So maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, but if I'm someone who has Poro and who's is thinking, what to do, I would just sit tight, just see how that relationship evolves, right?
hmm
Because right from the start of the season, even when Madison was playing, I think Poro looked good throughout
yeah.
the season.
Right, especially they have Bradford, so definitely a no sell this game week, and we just have to
Yes.
look for the future. So I saw a question from Pranif regarding Bruno, so maybe we'll answer it later when we talk about Man United. So we just move on to the next game first. Liverpool against Chelsea. So it's probably the biggest game for this game week. So Salah is out. Simicast is still out, but Robo and Trent both came in as sub in the FA Cup game and look okay. But interestingly, when Trent came in, he didn't come in for Bradley. So Bradley maintained his right back position, and Trent actually played in the midfield. So some of the Liverpool fans actually mentioned that Bradley did really well when Trent is out, and they want him to keep that position and push Trent to the middle of field. So I'm not sure whether that's possible or not, because McAllister is actually back after missing the cup game, and he's actually training as well. And for Chelsea, Nkunku and Gusto is both available. Sanchez is back for some training but still out. So Petrovic owners can actually keep him for another game. Um, Jackson, he lost at AFCON, but he won't return in time for this game. And also, the I think the most important one is for Colville. So I think there are a lot of Colville owners, and he missed a cup game. And Poch mentioned that he also will miss this game as well. So just a reminder for Colville owners, maybe you need to adapt to that. And the interesting stats, I'm sure many people are aware of it because the last 7 meetings between these two sides ended in a draw. So it's the longest drawing streak among all the teams that face each other in the Premier League. And yeah, so do we expect this to be another dull nil-nil draw, 1-1 draw again? Or do we expect them to start scoring goals, especially with Liverpool at home against Anfield in Anfield and Jota and Nunes is on form? So what do you think? Whether they'll keep it tight at the back or will this go end to end at what they did in the first game this season?
I think we have to take into account Klopp's announcement, right? We cannot have this episode and not talk about Jurgen Klopp deciding to leave. Right? It's such a huge, huge uh, announcement, right? He has been pivotal for Liverpool. He
Mhm,
has changed the trajectory of that club. Changed the playing style, brought in a new intensity, right? And I'm sure that decision would have some kind of impact on the players, right? This is the first match post that decision. They're going to play at Anfield. Anfield is going to be crazy. They're going to be making noise. They're going to ensure that Klopp knows that they love him, right? So that's the backdrop against which this team is going to play, and they are playing against a team which is fairly young. Right? Chelsea is such a young team. They have just filled the team with I think 99% young players, and you have Thiago Silva, right? So I don't think that team. I think that team will find it extremely difficult mentally to stay in the game, right? To fight it out there. It is not going to be an easy match for Chelsea at all. And that's the reason if you're someone who's looking to go into Jota or if who has gone Jota, I think it's okay. It's been it's been it can be extremely good for you, right? It's a risky move for sure, but look at the backdrop, right? And these are the things that I love about the game. When you're trying to play this game, Fantasy Premier League, right? You have to look at stuff other than just stats, right? You have to think, hey, what can happen here? And none of the stats are going to say what will happen for to Liverpool from here, given the fact that Klopp has now resigned. Is the team going to crumble? Is the team is going to fight for their manager? And you have to pick a narrative which you feel can happen and go with it.
Yeah. So in your opinion, Liverpool will do it for Klopp and finally beat Chelsea after a string of draws,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
So
don't have any Liverpool players, by the way, but I feel yes, that's what will happen. I think I have Trent. I don't know whether he plays,
mhm,
but I think there's a good amount of goals in this game. I wish I had got a player from their team, but I don't.
mhm. And actually, I look at another stats which Poch's record against Liverpool. He played 12 and only managed to get one win, uh, regardless of what team he managed in the past. So, yeah, so he has to find a way to beat Liverpool in this one. But fixtures wise, there are some talking points because we know that Liverpool have a potential double game week 25. It's potential because it's haven't been announced yet, but if according to Brent Krellin, it's probably 95% very likely to fall on double game week 25, which means that they'll blank in 26 and also 29 because they are heavy favorites to win the FA Cup game. So, how many? Which brings us to a question: how many Liverpool players do we want to have in double game week 25, and how do we deal with them after that game week? So for me, it will have to depend heavily on whether Salah returns on and whether we get Salah or not, right? So if for me, if I want to move into game week 25 with Salah, then I'll have Salah, Trent, and that's it. I won't be tempted to buy Nunes or Jota because that will be three Liverpool players, and then Spurs and Chelsea also blank as well. So you have Palmer, Porro, Richarlison. So there will be too many players that will blank in game week 26 that we have to deal with just one transfer. So the optimal strategy would be to go in 25 with two Liverpool players, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, no, sensible call.
Hmm. Because I see a lot of people loading in on Nunes on Jota, and then maybe you have to see how many Chelsea and Spurs players that you have as well, because you have to maybe plan for future a bit, unless you plan to free hit in game week 26, which I actually heard quite a lot of people are planning to do that as well, but that would put them in jeopardy in game week 29, but they actually plan to sacrifice it uh, anyways because there's not much upside in 29. Yeah. So we go to the next one. Is it worth waiting and preparing funds for Salah in 25? So for me, we have to see the progress and the reports because we are not even sure that he will be back. So I think we rather spend the money right now on some other players rather than put it in the bank.
Yeah,
Hmm. So the finally on the Jota and Nunes. So both are hot picks for this game week. Lots of people buying them in. So if you have, let's say you don't care about the funds and you can pick to buy one of them, who would you go for?
always Jota. I think we were
Jota.
discussing. I was speaking to, I think, Joe last week, last deadline, and I was telling the same thing. Right? Jota is a guy who, when on form, can convert opportunities. I
Mhm,
just know which Darwin shows up, right? He gets opportunities. You don't know whether he finishes them. I'm way more confident about Jota as a finisher, and that's the reason I just go there.
mhm. And also the probably the forward slots right now, no, the there are just three forward slots, but there's so many good forwards as well compared to the midfield area. But I'm just very surprised that Jota, sorry, Nunes actually did better without Salah than with him in the team. He actually finished better and assists better. So I'm not sure what are, whether they are related or just coincidence. But I think for me, I'm not interested to get any of them. Maybe just team dependent. But yeah, so I'm just going to bring up a random questions regarding Arsenal for you, Sankap.
Sure.
Yeah, so from Srinivas, are Arsenal assets now on the chopping block? Thoughts on Saka. So we discussed about that just now.
Yeah, yeah. I think yes. Other than if you are someone who has uh, Jesus, Gabriel, Martinelli, either of the three Gabriels, I think I would rather stick there. It's just that Saka is the price is now a problem with Saka, right? Where you have just too much money there, and if you would love to diversify and go somewhere like Jota perhaps or Madison. I'm now I'd forgotten about Madison, but now that we discussed the Spurs match, I'm thinking, hey, why not do a Saka to Madison? Right? It just makes sense. And if you are someone who has not made his moves and who has that opportunity, I would definitely. I am much more confident doing a Saka to Madison. Just hope that Madison is fit. The confidence that Saka gives you is 90 minutes through and through, through and through, through and through. Right? You know
Mhm.
he keeps playing. Madison, we don't know what happens. Right? So if he's fit, great. I think he's it's a logical move. Maybe see out this week and take that call. But if you really want punty, you can jump on that. But yes, they are on the chopping block because at that price, you just have to be more explosive. You know, I don't think those 5 6 pointers are uh, enough for someone at 9 million.
Yeah, just to ask, maybe for some other owners like Martinelli or Odegaard. So Martinelli, of course, we know he scored 2 goals, and there are lots of Odegaard owners as well. So, do we keep these two players? Do we buy them? What do we do with them?
Yeah, I think I think we can buy them. What do you feel?
Mm, yeah, Martinelli, will he get a boost in confidence after that 2 goals? And
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, probably.
Yeah,
And
I think Martinelli generally is a very good finisher. I know a lot of Arsenal fans who just want him as a striker, even though he has, very clearly said he doesn't like that central position. He likes that, left to central, running inside, right?
mhm.
And somehow he has missed out a lot of opportunities over this season, right? He was not clicking. He has hit posts. He has missed out, and I'm confident that those 2 goals, because those were typical Martinelli goals and not at all easy to pick up. He was against a good goalkeeper as well. So with Martinelli, I'm a bit more confident now. He starts, and if he starts, he gets those chances, and with confidence, there's a greater probability that he converts. We are creating narrative out of just one game or 10 15 minutes, but yeah, that's what you do, right? So yes.
Yeah, I think he struggled a bit early season, probably due to his confidence, but he seems like his confidence is back for this one. So, yeah, if I'm his owner, might as well just hold on to him, right? So, going back to the Liverpool Chelsea game, so we have one more dilemma, which is Palmer. So we know Palmer is in form, but they face a very tough Liverpool side away. So should we even consider benching Palmer for this game? For example, we have Palmer and Solanke dilemma. Who do we bank? Well, I think a lot of people have that type of dilemma as well.
Yeah. Oh, there are a lot of questions coming in, right?
Mhm. Yeah, so we just answer this, then we'll go to the next question again.
Extremely strong. I'm a bit worried, across taking this call, but uh, I don't know exactly, where to pinpoint how to take this decision, right? Uh, 50 either way.
Hmm. Yeah. So for me, if you want to bench Palmer for a defender, probably not, because you always start an attacker despite because he's in form as well, even though he plays Liverpool. But between Palmer and Solanke, probably Yeah, as you say, 50-50 as well. So we go to the next question. Maybe just something, a statement from Joe. So finally, we found someone that is willing to captain Haaland as me, like just like me. So yeah, so there's a bit more reassuring. And also from Brandon, how many city assets will be enough, and any particular must have? So we mentioned just now that ideally we want to go into game week 25 with three city players, and yeah, so any must have that probably for me, Foden, unless his role is taken over by some other players, we have to see, right?
Yeah, I think today is just Foden. I think next week it changes a bit, right? You
Mhm,
can add in Haaland, you can add in KDB, and generally that trio might be the trio for you. Just to add, I was just checking my phone, it started ringing up a lot. It seems
mhm,
hive mind predictions are out for Manchester City,
mhm.
and Haaland is at 0%.
Oh, okay.
Does that change anything for you, Leon?
Uh, Not really because I don't know. I just probably on the captaincy because I've already brought Haaland, so
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do. So maybe I'll have a
Who's the
think
vice
about the
captain, by the
captaincy
way?
later. Yeah, Watkins.
Watkins. I think
Yeah.
I think you're good to go, right? You can only hope that he just if
Mhm,
he's not coming, he's not coming, right? To that kind of thing. Kevin De Bruyne is at 100%, Alvarez is at 100%, Foden is at
mhm,
100%. So the other three popular attackers are 100%.
mhm,
Doku is 50%, and Grealish is close to 50%. Is around 43%. Right? So there are the people who are punting Doku. It's a punt, and that's what High Mind is saying us. It's still
mhm,
50%. And but Haaland 0% is something a bit surprising. I was expecting on the lower
mhm.
30s or 40s. Right? Zero is
Yeah,
seems like they are pretty much confident he doesn't start.
yeah. Or maybe he knows something that we don't, right? But I'm really surprised that KDB he thinks is 100% because there are some doubts that he might not start right away as well.
Definitely.
Mhm. Okay, so we go to our next match, which is West Ham against Bournemouth. So some team news. Kudus is back from AFCON, so he might be an option for this one. And they have Sufal and Benrahma suspended, and Pakita is still out. And also they have an injury with Edson Alvarez. So, but they signed Calvin Phillips, so Phillips might just slot in right into the starting lineup. And not much from Bournemouth. Utara is at AFCON, and Adam Smith unsure whether he'll return or not. But Billing should return after missing the FA Cup game. And yeah, we know that Bournemouth they're they are in some small slump, but they managed to come back and beat Swansea 5-0 in the cup. So that's a good comeback for them. And West Ham as well. West Ham is at home and they've been unbeaten in the last five Premier League games. So it'll be a tough game. I expect West Ham to go for the win, but Bournemouth will be an attacking team and they'll score goals as well. So you expect Solanke to score in this one as well.
Yeah, that this is where this. I'm also thinking about the Palmer versus Solanke move, and I
Mhm,
was just thinking, just let me just play Solanke. It just doesn't make sense to bench a striker who's generally been on form, right? Yeah, last couple of weeks maybe has not looked as great, but I
mhm,
think he's a guy who's looked on form. So Ian Palmer is on form, but Palmer is a guy who relies a bit more on pens, and I'm still playing the unfit factor in my mind, and that's the reason I'm playing. I'm playing Solanke over Palmer, right? So, but like you said, I'm not as sure about Phillips coming in. Let's keep in mind he's just not played for City, right? He's
mhm,
hardly played the entire season, so I'm not sure his fitness would be as strong, game fitness. So I'm a bit unsure that even if City West Ham need him, I think he comes off the bench at best.
mhm.
Right, so I'll hold off there.
Yeah.
But can be a tricky team, can be a good match in terms of FPL points. I think there's goals both ways. If you're
Mhm,
Bowen, if you have Solanke, I think there are opportunities for both the teams to score.
mhm.
So maybe you pick that.
Yeah, so we go to our dilemmas. So I mentioned just now that Kudus is back. So moving forward, do we buy him because he looked really good before he departs for AFCON, right? Um, but for me, a lot will be depending on the FA Cup replay between Villa and Chelsea. So if Villa wins that one, means they will blank in Game Week 29. Um, and then West Ham, you look at their fixtures. The fixtures are actually okay because they have tough games in Game Week 23 and 24 against Man United and Arsenal. But after that, their fixtures clear up. So you might not want to get him right away, but maybe a potential options moving forward.
I think both are, them playing Arsenal at home, they
Mhm,
can score goals against us.
mhm. Man
United
United.
away is no longer a match where you think
Mhm,
they'll not score, right? I feel like
mhm,
goals are there, right? So again, how much risk do you want to take,
mhm,
right? How much are you convinced of the player, right? Of the player's minutes, etc. Because again, he's gone to Afghan and come back, right? Maybe you want to see out a bit,
mhm,
but if you're convinced about his minutes at least, decent punt. Right? Maybe you require to do that to fund another move, and especially in those cases, I okay, right?
mhm. And the next one would be, would you consider selling Solanke? So, because a lot of people are actually doing that, not because they don't like Solanke, but they want some other players ahead of Solanke. And we are not sure whether when will that Bournemouth Luton game will be rescheduled. I think some Ben actually mentioned that it might be after game week 29,
Yeah,
so
it's
we are not
long
sure.
time away.
Yeah, so but the fixtures are actually quite good. They have good fixtures, three in a row, 22 to 24. Then after that, they have two tough ones in 25 to 26. But then after that, they have good fixtures again. So for me, I'll keep Solanke unless I have to sell, unless someone really appeals to me. Someone like maybe Pedro, someone like Isaac, someone like that, because we have maybe lots of even Tony as well, because we have so many striker options right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, I am not as comfortable selling Solanke today,
mhm,
but you can see there will be some options coming out, and it
mhm,
makes sense maybe to hold and transition out. At the same time, there are players like Joao Pedro available today itself, right?
mhm.
And you know,
Yeah,
if
I
you
think we missed out one of the dilemmas just now between Spurs and Brentford. It's about Tony. So, as we know, Brentford has the most amount of fixtures because they have a double in 25 and no blank in 26 and 29. So, among all teams, they have the. But however, they face a lot of tough teams in between. So, people are wondering whether Tony can perform against the big teams. But I've actually done a study based on the 2 seasons of Tony he have in the Premier League, and his returns are 49% are against top 10 teams and only 37% are against bottom 10 teams. So he actually rise up to the occasion when he face stronger teams. So I don't think it will be a problem for him in those tough fixtures. And I really consider him if I want to sell someone, for example, Solanke,
I agree. I
right?
agree. I mean, he is a good player. He's a good finisher, right? He takes
Mhm,
penalties as well. Generally, when he plays, Brentford look to create,
mhm,
solely for him. So these are good things. He's a good, sensible move to make. I don't have any. I think if you're going there, great.
Yeah, especially when Mbomo come back maybe during March, then I think he can do even better. So we go to the last game, Wolf versus Man United. So Wolf, Sarabia had a knock, but looks set to be okay. Huang is still at Asia Cup. I'm not sure what is the result between Korea right now and Saudi. Maybe I just have a check. Uh, just have a check. Maybe
Still nil nil.
it's still nil. Okay,
Half
so
time.
we'll know in 1 hour whether Son and Huang will come back
Yeah.
for maybe the next game week. Um, and then we have Neto, who started in the FA Cup, played 78 minutes and scored actually a great goal. if you see, if you watch the match. And Nori actually returned from AFCON as well. So Wolf is so far they've been in great form. They lost just one in the last 9 games, considered just 5 goals. They've really tightened up their defense as well. I see some managers buying Killman, for example. So a good choice as well. And their opponent, Man United, of course, you mentioned earlier about the Rashford issue. Um, Ten Hag said that he has been settled internally, so we don't know what that means, whether he'll play or not in the next game. And then we have Martial is out until March, so Hoyland will get even more minutes. And Onana will will return for the next game. So not sure if it's a good news or bad news for Man United in that one. Yeah, but we'll just go to a question from Pranif earlier. Um, I bought Bruno last game week. Not sure why he did that.
Because he's a huge United fan. I know him.
Yeah, okay. Should I give him one more game week or sell for another meat?
Yes, yes. I mean, see, it's a good match. He can get something out of this match for sure. But I'm just not convinced about Bruno as an FPL asset anymore. Right?
Mhm,
It's not clicked for them. That's the reality. And there are a
mhm,
lot of midfield, options available in the
mhm,
game. Right? We spoke about so many in this match. So if you ask me today, he's a sell, but will I
mhm.
sell him this week? Maybe not, right? Unless you are using that money to go to a KDB to get to go
Yep.
to a Jota, couple of names, perhaps
Mhm.
yes. Other than that, I'll just sit back and see out and hope my punt, pays off. I just you just have to pray.
Yeah, I actually don't watch them a lot, so I'm not sure how Bruno actually did because they just won twice in the last 8 league games. So did he do really well, but his team let him down, or is he just as bad and just quiet? I don't really watch the game, so I'm not sure about eye tests. Right, so I think Aditya is, if he's here, he can answer that question better.
Now,
But yeah.
I saw the Spurs match, right? I think there was just a lot of blind crosses coming in.
Mhm,
Other than that, nothing, right? So, and it was a match at Old Trafford. I went in, I was watching the match expecting a United turnaround, some kind of, aggressiveness. It just wasn't there. It's
mhm,
not about Bruno as a individual player. It's just that as a system, they have not clicked up front anymore, right? And that has been the story entire season, over the last 20 odd matches, right? So, if you're someone who's asking, can I go Bruno? I'd say definitely no. Just don't go there, right?
mhm,
And I've had Bruno for like 5, 6 matches, had a couple of returns here and there, but it's the truth that the system is not clicking for United, and ideally, I would say, avoid, right? If you're going there, you're just being hopeful, and you it's a lot of hopes, and I would rather use that money somewhere else. Now that we have having options coming back, earlier we didn't have options, right? Now we have KDB, we have Jota. Why not go there? Or Madison even, right? I don't want to
mhm.
miss out Madison, right? So those are the names I would actually make the move today. But in general, I would be okay, sitting out this week and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I think someone agree as well. From GT, we should just skip Man United assets altogether except Garnacho. I agree because I still have Garnacho in my team, just probably just for the financial purpose, so that
Yeah.
he can just stay on the bench and enable me to play 3-4-3, and maybe come in when I really need him. So the next dilemma, I think you are the right person to answer. So Neto, of course, we know he's back, and you bought him. So
Yeah,
what
I
is the
got
thing that
him.
make you buy him?
So he's an ex-lively player, right? He's a player who looks so good on the ball. He's always looking to attack down the flank, create opportunities, right? So, uh, as a player, and I think he got injured just about the week I was planning to buy him. Right, I was watching the match. I like, okay, he's looking so good. He's looking so good. I'm going to buy him, and then I saw him go down. Right, and I've been waiting for him to come back a long time. So there's a lot of bias involved here, and I want to call it out. But at the same time, I think these are the matches where Wolves are going to score or are going to find opportunities to score, and that's the reason. you know, he comes out as a really good, mid-term player, a mid-priced player, right?
Mhm.
At his price range, he's extremely effective. And then I saw the FA Cup match, I saw his goal, so I can feel that, there are some things around. And if you look at the matches as well, right, they have United at home, they have Chelsea away, they have Brentford at home, they have Spurs away, they have Sheffield at home. All five matches, I feel like there are goals there.
Yep.
I don't feel I don't think they're facing any strong team where they cannot really score, right? So it's a punty move. It's also a budget move, right? So he's falling in that category. I wanted to fund a KDB and a Haaland next week. So all these things, in taking that into mind, I went there.
Yep, I agree with you about funding this, which is why I mentioned just now I bought Garnacho and probably planning to buy Neto as well, because if you have these two players, then it frees up a lot of funds in terms of midfield as well.
Definitely.
So I think there's a question from Srinivas. We discussed it earlier. So is Cole Palmer benchable? Yeah, for us,
Who are
definitely,
you benching him for, right?
yeah.
Uh, I think the general query is around Solanke versus Palmer, right? I
Mhm,
have gone for Solanke just now, but it's very tricky. We discussed it earlier as well. It's very close.
mhm,
Follow your gut. My gut thinking, in terms of Klopp and the atmosphere at Anfield, and that's the reason I've just changed it and I've gone for Solanke.
mhm,
But he's a player on form and he's playing well too. So
yep,
I don't think that's a wrong decision. Just,
mhm,
I would say ask yourself to imagine both the matches, think how it will play out, and then follow that option.
mhm. Yep. So one more question from GT. Should I sell Gusto for Burn or Konsa? Both Newcastle and Villa have not bad fixtures going forward. So as I mentioned just now, Gusto is actually okay to start this game week, but he's facing Liverpool. Um, yeah, I have Konsa in my team, and Villa, of course, they have good fixtures, and I would say Konsa is probably better than Burn. In terms of the team quality as well, even though I'm a Newcastle fan, probably I think Villa is in a better position right now. So if you want to sell, probably get Konsa over Burn.
I would rather save the FT. I don't
Mhm,
think either are, really strong ceiling moves.
mhm,
Right, Newcastle can very well score this week. Right, again, it's a tricky match. I know we expect Villa to play well and maybe win, but that doesn't mean Newcastle cannot score. They just scored
mhm.
against City as well. Right, so
Yep.
I think I would delay this move. If this is the only move you want to make, I would rather save or transfer and decide on it
Mhm,
next match. What will happen? You
yep.
will at max miss out on 4 points, but you go in next week with two transfers and a host of better knowledge about Haaland, about KDB, about
Mhm.
lot more important high ceiling assets, and then take a call in combination.
Yep, and I think Gusto actually saved some money as well compared to Burn and Consa. So you might as well use that money on other players and keep
True,
Gusto.
true.
So we move on to our next section, captaincy options. So I think this game week is the most open for the entire season in terms of captaincy. We have so many options compared to last week when people either go Palmer or Saka. This game week, I think we can go anyone and still can justify it because we don't have Haaland and Salah,
Top
obviously.
three, Young. What is your top three?
Mm, I was actually debating between five options this afternoon, right?
Okay, I
I
want to
have
cut it down a bit.
Yeah, I have Saka, I have Richarlison, I have the two Man City players, Foden, Alvarez. Of course, I sold Alvarez for Haaland. So
Yeah.
it's between, and also I have Watkins, because
Hmm.
all five have their own appeal. And I
Yeah.
think many people say that Richarlison because they want to target Brentford, and
Hmm.
also Saka because they want to target Forest and all this. But then I narrowed it down to three. So for me, it's between Foden, Alvarez, and Watkins. And
Okay.
then I saw Warriors. I saw Alvarez. So it's between Foden, Haaland, and Watkins. But then after that, I realized that Villa haven't been scoring a lot even at home, and Newcastle probably improved slightly defensively. So I again narrowed it down between Foden and of course Haaland or Alvarez right now. So I think yeah, eventually I go Haaland, but of course I cannot justify that because we are not sure about his minutes. But I think Foden is a really good choice. I don't think he will blank if because Man City will likely batter Burnley in this one. I think they are in a real good position to beat them by like 4 or 5 goals in this one. I think Foden will be involved in one of those goals at least.
Yeah. If you ask me today, my top three will be Kevin De Bruyne.
Mhm,
Uh, Second will be, it's a tricky week. Second, I think, will be
mhm,
Watkins.
mhm,
And third, it's between a Spurs player and a Liverpool player. Right?
mhm,
So it's between Richarlison and Jota. My money will be more on Jota primarily because I think, of the atmosphere. And in my mind, I have created a narrative, so I'm just sticking to it. But I think all these four names are good, solid, higher ceiling options than others.
mhm,
I am not going Saka because I don't think it's a high ceiling option. He might give us points,
mhm,
but he's just not been giving. I don't think he has given double digits so far, maybe once or twice max.
mhm,
Right? So that's the reason I won't captain there. I think Pedro is a very differential shout. Of the other names, I only like Pedro. I think it's a strong shout.
mhm.
But given that it's Luton away, I won't do it this week.
Yeah, so you don't really rate Foden's chances of hauling this game week.
He's again a player that I feel gives us points,
Mhm,
but there are very few weeks he gives us double digits, right? So from a
mhm,
ceiling point of view, I don't look at him as a high ceiling player. I look at him as a good player, like someone who will give us a 8 pointer, 9 pointer. And if you're happy with a high ceiling of 8, 9 point, I think yeah, definitely go there.
yep,
But I feel like players like Kevin De Bruyne are or even Jota, right? These are guys who have that higher ceiling. When they
mhm.
do well, they do really well, and that's the reason I love captaining such players.
Yeah, so we are moving on to our last section. So if you have still have any questions, just drop us a message in the
We
chat
have
box and
gone
we'll
one
try
hour
to
40
answer.
minutes. I mean, I think this is
Yeah,
kind of a record for the season.
yeah, because there are too many issues to discuss. I think for this
Of
gaming,
course.
it's a very complicated gaming. So we'll look at first your team. Just
Yeah.
bring us through your team.
Lot of yellow flags. I just hope these players play. You gave me some confidence about Trippier, which I feel good with. I generally
Mhm,
have some confidence for Gabriel, so I feel a bit better. Right. So
mhm,
overall, this is how the team looks like. I have Bournemouth. I have Areola in goal. Tricky, but what I've done is I've made one change now. I've brought in Solanke for Palmer. My
mhm,
captaincy chip is on De Bruyne, who I brought in for Rashford yesterday night. Look, hearing about the Rashford news,
mhm,
my initial plan was actually Saka to De Bruyne, but I did that. I also had Andrea Pereira, which I had punted, I think 5 6 weeks back, but it's a disaster decision. I've been benching him most weeks. He's completely off form, so I thought it's a good opportunity to upgrade him a bit, and I still have enough money to perhaps sell one of Trippier or Trent next week and get in Haaland for Watkins or Jesus.
Yeah, so the only thing I saw here is you decided to start Neto over Solanke.
Yes. Uh,
Yeah, even though
I,
Neto have no guaranteed 90 minutes for this one.
Correct, correct. So
Mhm,
currently I have benched Palmer for Neto, right? So
mhm,
if you're looking like this, right?
mhm,
Basically, I had to bench one and I benched Palmer for Neto, primarily because it's United at home. I feel that there are goals there, and that's the
mhm.
reason I've gone
Yep,
for Neto. But Solanke
yep.
is playing now.
Hmm, okay. So we have a question here asking any news on Charlie Taylor. So we mentioned it earlier when company was asked the questions, he just answered we'll see. So I think Pep sort of taught him how to answer the questions.
Yeah, I was
So
going to
we
say any news, no news at all,
yeah, no
right?
news
It's
so
almost
fast.
as good as no news.
Yeah, so I don't think he'll start. So yeah, you might have to look elsewhere. But even if he starts, they're playing Man City, so yeah, it's almost probably he'll get like 0 or 1 points in that. So yeah, that makes not much difference, right? Okay, so we'll move to my team. Um, yeah, so in here you can see that I've started Ariola like you, but I've actually changed Leno to the starting position. I've changed it many times, but at the end I decided to stick with Leno.
Hmm.
I feel both have a really high save potential, but I'm just more confident about Fulham defense at home. And defense, I have a struggle as well because I was thinking whether I want to start Konsa at home or Gabriel away because I think Forest will score and we'll have to depends on Gabriel to score another header again, which I don't want to.
He can.
Yeah. So at the end, I place Konsa over Gabriel right now. Okay. And other than that, I think I've made a move. Of course, I mentioned earlier I've sold Alvarez and bought in Haaland. So I think I just want to take a gamble and captain Haaland, and my captain is still on Watkins. So other than that, no other issues, and
Perfect.
yeah. So I don't have the Palmer versus Solanke dilemma because my bench is Garnacho, so of course I'm not starting him. Yeah.
Cool.
So I think we have reached the end of the stream and we don't have any more questions to answer.
Yes.
Uh, Anything else you want to add on, Sankalp, before we end the
No,
stream?
I think it was extremely detailed, right? I think this is one of the longest pods that we did, but it was great fun,
Mhm,
right? It's a very tricky week. We have now small deadlines, but I would like to reiterate what we said at the start of the pod, right? This is the time when generally you can create differences, right? Where you can go for opportunities, and there are some tremendous differential assets out there. So take your punt. I would say you can take a bit more risks now,
mhm,
but calibrate it. Need not be just risk for the sake of risk. It can be taken this week, can also be taken next week, right? So take a bit more information, and but play a bit more punty, and I hope there's those arrows that come out for you are green in nature, right? Other than that, please put a like button on the video. I hope you liked it, and please share it with more friends and ask them to come and watch us.
mhm. Yeah. So my advice would be look at the fixtures table because I think a lot of managers they just plan like this game week or next game week, then they end up getting stuck when there's a game that double game week or a blank and they run out of chips. So use your chips wisely, plan your transfers wisely, and then try not take too many hits. So all the best to everyone for game week 22, and then I think we'll have a deadline stream again in uh, game week 23, which comes I think in 3 or 4 days time. So it's a very packed game week. I think we'll be back for a deadline stream in game week 23. So thanks for joining us today, and all the best for game week 22. So see you guys. Bye.